Welcome, me dear friends. If you want to watch super hit movie Blood Diamond in English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, friends. In today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called Blood Diamond. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it, all the interesting facts about this movie in today's video. I'm going to tell you. I'm also going to give you all the information on which platform or on which satellite channel you will get to watch this movie also. In detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production filming, post-production, budget, box office collection of this film. We will also talk about the story of this film, and I will also give you a small review of the story of this film. Apart from this, we will discuss about the facts of this film storyline, star-cast actors' performance in the film, and which character has played which role. That's why I request you, friends, to watch this video till the end. So start the video. Blood Diamond is a 2006 American political action thriller film directed and co-produced by Edward Zwick and starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Connelly, and Djimon Hounsou. The title refers to blood diamonds, which are diamonds mined in war zones and sold to finance conflicts and thereby profit warlords and diamond companies around the world. Set during the Sierra Leone Civil War of 1991-2002, the film depicts a country torn apart by the struggle between government loyalists and insurgent forces. It also portrays many of the atrocities of that war, including the rebels' amputation of civilians' hands to discourage them from voting in upcoming elections. The film's ending, in which a conference is held concerning blood diamonds, refers to a historic meeting that took place in Kimberley, South Africa, in 2000. It led to development of the Kimberley Process Certification Scheme, which sought to certify the origin of rough diamonds in order to curb the trade in conflict diamonds. The certification scheme has since been mostly abandoned as ineffective. The film received positive reviews, with praise directed toward the performances of DiCaprio and Hounsou. The film grossed $171 million worldwide and received 5 Oscar nominations, including Best Actor for DiCaprio and Best Supporting Actor for Hounsou. DiCaprio received a nomination for a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor, Motion Picture Drama, also nominated that year in the same category for The Departed. In addition, DiCaprio and Hounsou were nominated for Outstanding Male Actor in a Leading Role and Outstanding Male Actor in a Supporting Role at the 13th Screen Actors Guild Awards. Plot: in 1999, Sierra Leone is ravaged by civil war. The Revolutionary United Front terrorizes the countryside and enslaves many locals to harvest diamonds, which fund their increasingly successful war effort. Solomon Vandy, a Mende fisherman from Sheng, is separated from his family and assigned to a workforce overseen by Captain Poison, a ruthless warlord. While mining a river, Vandy discovers an enormous pink diamond. Captain Poison tries to take the stone, but the area is suddenly raided by government troops. Vandy buries the stone before being captured. Vandy and Poison are incarcerated in Freetown along with Danny Archer, a white Zimbabwean gunrunner and Angolan war veteran, jailed for trying to smuggle diamonds into Liberia. The diamonds were intended for Rudolf van de Kaap, a corrupt South African mining executive. Hearing of the pink diamond in prison, Archer arranges for himself and Vandy to be freed. He travels to Cape Town to meet his employer, Colonel Coetzee, an Afrikaner formerly with the apartheid-era South African Defense Force, whom Archer also served under in the 32 Battalion, who now commands a private military company. Archer wants the diamond so he can sell it to Van de Kaap and retire, but Coetzee wants it as compensation for Archer's botched smuggling mission. Archer returns to Sierra Leone, locates Vandy, and offers to help him find his family if he will help recover the diamond. The Rough conquers Freetown, while Vandy's son Dia is captured to serve as a child soldier under a liberated Captain Poison. Archer and Vandy narrowly escape to Lungi, where they plan to reach Kono with the help of an American journalist, Maddie Bowen, in exchange for Archer providing evidence of the illicit diamond trade. Maddie helps Vandy locate his remaining family at a refugee camp in Guinea. While they travel, Archer reveals to Maddie that his parents were brutally killed by black rebels after the fall of white minority rule in Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, during the Rhodesian Bush War. As a child, he fled to South Africa, where he eventually joined the military and served in Angola. Eventually, the trio arrive in Kono after a harrowing journey, where Coetzee and his private army, contracted by the Sierra Leone government, prepares to repulse the rebel offensive. While Maddie gets out with her story, the two men set out for Captain Poison's encampment. Dia, stationed with the rough garrison there, is confronted by Vandy, but having been brainwashed, he refuses to acknowledge his father. Archer radios the site's coordinates to Coetzee, who directs a combined air and ground assault on the camp. Vandy finds Captain Poison and beats him to death with a shovel as the mercenaries overwhelm the rough defenders. Coetzee then forces Vandy to produce the diamond, but is killed by Archer, who realizes Coetzee would eventually kill them both. Dia briefly holds the pair at gunpoint, but Vandy confronts him again and renews their familial bond. Pursued by vengeful mercenaries, Archer discloses he has been mortally wounded and entrusts the stone to Vandy, telling him to take it for his family. Vandy and his son rendezvous with Archer's pilot, who flies them to safety, while Archer makes a final phone call to Maddie. They share final farewells as he asks her to assist Vandy and gives her permission to finish her article. Archer finally takes in the beautiful African landscape before dying. Vandy arrives in London and meets with a Van de Kaap representative. He exchanges the pink diamond for a large sum of money and being reunited with his entire family. Maddie takes photographs of the deal to publish in her article on the diamond trade, exposing Van de Kaap's criminal actions. Vandy appears as a guest speaker at a conference on blood diamonds in Kimberley and is met with a standing ovation. Cast: Leonardo DiCaprio as Danny Archer, Jennifer Connelly as Maddie Bowen, Djimon Hounsou as Solomon Vandy, Kagiso Kuipers as Dia Vandy, Arnold Vosloo as Colonel Coetzee, David Harewood as Captain Poison, Anthony Coleman as Cordell Brown, Benu Mabena as Jassy Vandy, Anointing Lucola as Nyanda Vandy, Basil Wallace as Benjamin Capanay, Jimmy Mystery as Nabil Production. Charles Levitt was hired by Warner Brothers in February 2004 to rewrite an early draft of the film, then titled Okavango. The story had been stuck in development hell at the studio for years before producers Paula Weinstein and Gillian Gorfel finally decided on the story of an African farmer caught up in the conflict between an American smuggler and the local diamond mining organization. Levitt researched the diamond industry at great length before he began writing the screenplay, explaining that he has always been a stickler for immersing himself in research. He wrote the film with the assumption that it would offend the diamond industry, particularly De Beers, and so made sure to portray the industry truthfully, aware that he could potentially be sued by De Beers and other powerful mining corporations. Paula Weinstein was impressed by Levitt's blood diamond draft, but hired writers Ed Zwick and Marshall Herskovitz to rewrite it. By the time he had completed the script, Zwick had become so interested in the story that he agreed to direct the film as well. Filming took place on location in South Africa, Cape Town, Port Edward, Mozambique, Maputo, Goba, and London, England. Release: critical response. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 64% based on reviews from 214 critics. The site's consensus states Blood Diamond overcomes poor storytelling with its biting commentary and fine performances. On Metacritic, it has a weighted average score of 64 out of 100 based on 39 reviews, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film a grade of A on a scale from A to F. Claudia Puig of USA Today gave the film a positive review, calling Blood Diamond a gem in a season with lots of worthy movies. Puig also praised DiCaprio's acting, calling it the first time the boyish actor has truly seemed like a man on film. 10. Peter Rayner of the Christian Science Monitor also gave the film a positive review and, like Puig, praised DiCaprio's acting. DiCaprio is remarkable. His work is almost on par with his performance this year in The Departed. William Arnold of the Seattle Post-Intelligencer gave the film a positive review, saying Zwick's narrative skills keep us hooked on the story, and the first-rate production values and imaginative use of locations, it was shot in Mozambique, give the film an enthralling scope and epic sweep. Damon Wise of Empire magazine gave the film 4 out of 5 stars, saying, "Great performances, provocative ideas, and gripping action scenes fall prey to Hollywood logic and pat storytelling in the final hour." David Edelstein of New York Magazine found the film exceeded his expectations. Given that the movie doesn't have a single narrative surprise, you always know where it's going and why. Commercially speaking, it's going there. It's amazing how good Blood Diamond is. I guess that's the surprise. Ann Hornaday of The Washington Post also praised DiCaprio's acting in both Blood Diamond and The Departed, released the same year, saying that he has undergone a major growth spurt this year. She called the film as a whole an unusually smart, engaged popcorn flick. James Berardinelli of The Real Views gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, saying, "It's a solid performance from Leonardo DiCaprio, who has grown into this sort of gritty role and is more believable after having been seen dancing on the dark side in The Departed." Dana Stevens of Slate magazine wrote, "Blood Diamond is a by-the-numbers message picture, to be sure, but the director, Edward Zwick, is craftsman enough that the pace never slackens. The chase scenes thrill, and the battle scenes sicken. And if it makes viewers think twice about buying their sweethearts that hard-won hunk of ice for Christmas, so much the better." Ty Burr of the Boston Globe, after giving the film a positive review, stated, "As an entry in the advocacy entertainment genre, in which glamorous movie stars bring our attention to the plight of the less fortunate, Blood Diamond is superior to 2003's ridiculous Beyond Borders, while looking strident and obvious next to last year's The Constant Gardener." Pete Vonder Haar of The Film Threat gave the film a mixed review, saying, "It's a reasonably entertaining actioner, and Zwick doesn't shy away from depicting violence or the horrors of war, but as a social statement it falls a little short. And emeralds are prettier anyway." Mark Savloff of the Austin Chronicle also gave the film a mixed review. While the film never quite reaches the emotional peaks it so obviously seeks to scale, Zwick's film is still potent enough to save you 3 months' salary. Nathan Lee of The Village Voice, like Vonder Haar and Savloff, also gave the film a mixed review, suggesting that De Beers can relax. The only indignation stirred up by Blood Diamond won't be among those who worry about where their jewelry came from, but with audiences incensed by facile politics and bad storytelling. Scott Tobias of the AV Club gave the film a C grade. Much like Zwick's Glory and The Last Samurai, Blood Diamond strives to be an important film while stopping well short of being genuinely provocative and artistically chancy. Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle gave the film a negative review, arguing that director Edward Zwick tried to make a great movie, but somewhere in the process he forgot to make a good one. Box office performance. Blood Diamond opened on December 8, 2006 in the United States and Canada in 1,910 theaters. The film ranked at number 5 on its opening weekend, accumulating $8,648,324 with a per-theater average of $4,527. The film's 5-day gross was $10,383,962. The film dropped down number 7 on its second weekend, accumulating $6,570,071 and a 20.6% drop from its first weekend and per-theater average of $3,412. By its third weekend, it dropped even more to number 12 and made $3,126,179 with its $3,628. Blood Diamond went on to gross $57,377,000 in the United States and Canada and $104,029,263 overseas. In total, the film grossed $71,407,179 worldwide. Home media. Blood Diamond was released on DVD in Region 1 format on March 20, 2007. Both a single disc and a 2-disc version were released. The film has sold an estimated 3.6 million DVD units and has grossed $62.7 million in sales. There is an old Hollywood story, probably apocryphal, about Nicholas Ray climbing a giant sand dune on a remote location in the Sahara while directing Richard Burton in Bitter Victory 50 years ago. Reaching the top, he bumped into Henry Hathaway, who was making the John Wayne movie Legend of the Lost in the adjoining Wadi. With movies currently being shot all over Africa, there's a good chance of something similar happening again. Perhaps Spike Lee, shooting a biopic of Patrice Lumumba in Congo, we'll bump into Brian De Palma doing a remake of The African Queen, co-starring Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. It's no coincidence that all my films of the week this year have been shedding light on the Dark Continent. Alejandro González Iñárritu's Babel, shot partly in Morocco, Kevin MacDonald's Last King of Scotland, made largely in Uganda, and now Edward Zwick's Blood Diamond, which uses locations in Sierra Leone, South Africa, and Mozambique. The first two are rather complex in the responses they seek to evoke. Blood Diamond is more straightforward. The plot turns on two youngish men, one black, one white, searching for a great hidden treasure. In another age, it would have been an adventure yarn, much in the manner of Rider Haggard's King Solomon's Mines. Here, it's a political thriller with international ramifications, though much simpler than last year's Syriana, and the tale is molded on an armature of well-researched journalism. The recent African picture it most resembles is The Constant Gardener. The film is set in Sierra Leone in the 1990s and has three well-presented and well-played central characters. Solomon Vandy, a Mende fisherman, played by Djimon Hounsou, the most handsome, beautifully built actor at work today, Danny Archer, Leonardo DiCaprio, a 31-year-old South African, and Maddie Bowen, Jennifer Connelly, a liberal journalist and war chaser, most recently in Bosnia. Solomon's wife and daughter have found refuge from the civil war in a refugee camp in Guinea. His abducted 10-year-old son has been turned into a murderous boy soldier by the bloodthirsty Revolutionary Army, and Solomon has been made to work as a slave in the rebels' illegal diamond mine. Danny is a self-styled soldier of fortune who left Rhodesia as a child following the murder of his parents by Mugabe's guerrillas, served with the South African Army in Angola, then became a mercenary and a diamond smuggler. Maddie, newly arrived in Africa, is researching a big story on the illegal trade in diamonds found in conflict zones. Danny is after the eponymous emblematic blood diamond, a gem the size of a bird's egg that Solomon has found and buried. Solomon needs Danny's help in recovering his dispersed family. Maddie sees that Danny can provide the evidence that links South Africa, Britain, the States, the Low Countries, and India in the illicit diamond business. Through this trio, the film touches on the chief issues in Africa: post-colonial instability, tribal warfare, commercial exploitation, the brutal conscription and indoctrination of boy soldiers, the indifference of the West to a blighted continent. Danny, as ruthless a killer as the revolutionaries, represents cynicism, shallow realism, and the instinct and skill to survive. Gentle, idealistic Solomon stands for hope, peaceful resolution, the warmth of family life. His ambition is to see his son become a doctor. Maddie is there to be instructed, to have her liberal pieties tested, and to be one of the agencies through which Danny is redeemed. She's the audience for a lecture from Danny on the hopeless state of the continent, and is introduced to the expression TIA as the newcomer to the platoon in Saving Private Ryan is taught the acronym FUBAR. It means "This is Africa," said with a resigned shrug, excusing everything, explaining nothing. But the film has a romantic aspect, and Zwick and his screenwriter, Charles Levitt, are eager to show that Danny is as bound to Africa as Solomon is. In addition to the blood-tainted diamond, there is another symbol in the identification of blood with the continent's red soil. Danny's mentor, a mercenary colonel, uses this image of rootedness in a chat they have in a South African vineyard. And the payoff comes when blood and soil are mingled in a final scene that recalls the end of Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls. As in Zwick's previous films, notably Glory, his American Civil War picture about the 1st Black Combat Unit raised to fight with the Union Army, the Gulf War film Courage Under Fire and The Last Samurai, discussion of moral, cultural, and racial issues is combined with realistic, large-scale battle scenes. Here the issues may be simply put, but the brilliant action sequences engage us viscerally, from the opening raid on Solomon's village through the murderous invasion of Freetown to the climactic assault by a mercenary helicopter gunship on a rebel stronghold. In addition to the scenes in Sierra Leone, there are documentary-style recreations of international conferences on the diamond trade and of the process by which the gems are laundered. The film is superbly photographed by Eduardo Serra, the prolific Franco-Portuguese cinematographer, And there are two interesting pieces of minor casting. The first is Michael Sheen in the brief role of the shifty, unprincipled London representative of an Anglo-South African diamond company. After playing one of the titular bright young things in the Stephen Fry film of Waugh's Vile Bodies, his two performances as Tony Blair and his current stage appearance as David Frost, Sheen is becoming typecast as a dislikable kind of shifty, shallow Englishman. Having already roiled the diamond industry, Blood Diamond arrives with the best of intentions, harrowing sequences, but ultimately mixed results. Another sweeping, at times heartbreaking view of the horrors inflicted upon Africa, in this case Sierra Leone's civil war, it's also a quest for a fabulous stone that Hitchcock would have called a MacGuffin, namely an ice cube-sized pink diamond. Leonardo DiCaprio and Djimon Hounsou deliver powerful moments, but those moments are liberally spaced along a lengthy trek, one that periodically pauses to scold the U.S. audience for complicity in the region's exploitation. As such, overseas appeal might outstrip the yield from domestic mines. Set in 1999, rebels wage war against Sierra Leone's government, and the movie quickly establishes the brutal toll exacted on innocent bystanders. Rebels raid a village occupied by the fisherman Solomon Vandy, Hounsou, lopping off arms, murdering women and children, and sending his family fleeing. Solomon himself is taken hostage and forced to labor in the mining camps, which generate millions of dollars used to finance the arms trade and thus perpetuate Africa's bloody nightmare. Before escaping during a government assault, however, Solomon unearths and hides an enormous, invaluable diamond, word of which reaches smuggler Danny Archer DiCaprio, who prefers the label Soldier of Fortune. Danny convinces Solomon that the only way to reunite his family is to sell the diamond and use the proceeds. Meanwhile, an American journalist, Maddie, Jennifer Connelly, wants the Afrikaners' aid in exposing trafficking in conflict stones, diamonds plucked from war-torn areas and laundered through legitimate Western merchants. I'm using him and you're using me, and that is how it works, isn't it? Danny snaps at Maddie, who is clearly on hand to stir pangs of conscience as much as offer a potential love interest, given that the burgeoning war leaves scant time for romance. Director Ed Zwick and writer Charles Levitt perhaps strike their most lingering chord via a subplot involving Solomon's son, Dia, Kagiso Kuipers, who is brought into rebel custody and transformed into a child soldier. The indoctrination includes teaching youths to kill almost casually, and the sight of children ruthlessly brandishing automatic weapons becomes one of the film's more indelible images. In the end, though, Zwick is trying to juggle several balls at once and does so with a heavy hand, delivering a history lesson on the sordid resource exploitation of Africa from within and from abroad, expounding on the role of wanton consumerism, always nice right before the holidays, and still developing a traditional quest thriller that will theoretically open Danny's blinkered eyes to the suffering around him. It's a tremendous amount of ground to cover, and the film's last third is less than wholly convincing or satisfying, unable to deliver on its early promise. DiCaprio nevertheless again acquits himself admirably after The Departed, bringing a roguish charm to Danny. Hounsou is also characteristically strong as the movie's moral center, thrust into a familiar position regarding cinematic Africa, think Hotel Rwanda, as well as his own resume, think Gladiator, separated from and struggling to safeguard his family as chaos erupts all around him. Filmed almost entirely in Africa, Pick captures a big, adventurous scope, including sweeping vistas of lush jungle, large-scale bursts of action, and a massive refugee camp poignantly described as an entire country made homeless. Africa's enduring sorrow is ripe for drama, but Blood Diamond is finally a fitting metaphor for the gems. Potentially brilliant from a distance, but upon closer inspection, one likely will see the flaws. His plan worked, at least for a while. The rebels allowed them in, not knowing Solomon was the man who had once escaped their mine. Once inside, the noise of machines and shouting filled the air. Men worked under the hot sun, digging and sifting, and there, hidden in a quiet corner, was the place where Solomon had buried the diamond. His eyes scanned the ground. He knew the spot. He hadn't forgotten. But before they could dig it up, something unexpected happened. A group of rebel guards brought in new prisoners. Among them was a young boy with a gun in his hand and anger in his eyes. Solomon froze. It was his son, but the boy didn't seem to know him. He had been brainwashed, trained to forget his family and follow the orders of the rebels. He had been turned into a soldier. Solomon's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. His son, his little boy, was now standing with the enemy. But Solomon didn't give up. He whispered his name, called him gently, hoping something deep inside the boy would remember. The rebels became suspicious. They started asking questions. Danny tried to stay calm, lying smoothly like he always did. But the situation was becoming dangerous. The truth was getting closer to the surface. Then came the sound of helicopters in the distance. Government forces, along with foreign soldiers, had launched an attack on the mine. They had found out where it was and were coming to shut it down. Explosions rocked the ground. Everyone began to panic. Rebels shouted. Gunfire filled the air. People ran in every direction. In the middle of all the chaos, Solomon found his son again. The boy pointed a gun at him, confused and afraid. Solomon stood still, tears running down his face. He didn't raise a weapon. He just spoke from his heart. He reminded his son of who he was, of the days they went fishing, of his mother's cooking, of the songs they used to sing. For a moment, everything stopped. The boy's hands trembled. His eyes slowly filled with tears. Memories came rushing back. He lowered the gun. He remembered. Father and son hugged tightly as bombs exploded nearby. They had found each other again. Donnie, meanwhile, had found the diamond. He held it in his hand, staring at the pink glow. It? Forever. But now he had a decision to make. The way out was closing fast. The soldiers were closing in. The mountain was falling apart. Did he run with the diamond or help the people he had grown to care about? He chose to help. They began to escape together, but Danny was shot. The bullet hit him badly. He could barely walk. Still, he kept going. Solomon carried his son. Danny followed behind. They climbed a steep hill to a high cliff with the whole valley below. Helicopters flew overhead. Gunfire chased them. Finally, they reached a safe place, high ground where a rescue helicopter could land. Danny collapsed, bleeding heavily. He knew he wouldn't make it. He handed the diamond to Solomon. His face was tired but peaceful. For the first time in his life, he had done something good. Not for money, not for himself, but because it was the right thing to do. He used the last of his strength to call Maddie on a satellite phone. She had reached safety and was waiting for news. Danny gave her the location. He told her to take care of Solomon and his story. He didn't ask for money or fame. He just wanted the truth to come out. Then he put down the phone and looked out at the beautiful land below him, his home, and also the place that had taken everything from him. With a small smile, he whispered goodbye. Solomon and his son were rescued. Maddie helped them escape the country. They reached a safer place far from war. Solomon had the diamond, but he didn't sell it for riches. Instead, with Maddie's help, he used it to bring attention to the blood diamond trade, to speak out against the crimes that had destroyed so many lives. Maddie wrote a powerful article. She exposed how diamonds were being used to fund wars and how innocent people were paying the price. Her story shocked the world. People started asking questions. Companies were forced to change their ways. A movement began, one that still continues today, to stop the sale of conflict diamonds. Solomon was invited to speak at a big international meeting. He stood in front of rich businessmen, powerful leaders, and people wearing shiny diamonds. He told them his story, not with anger, but with truth. He spoke of his village, his family, the mine, and the boy who almost forgot he was a son. People listened, some cried, some looked away, ashamed. But the story had been told, and somewhere in the crowd, a young boy sat beside, ends not with diamonds, but with something far more valuable: truth, courage, and the bond between a father and his child. In a place where survival is often more important than dreams, people show who they really are. Some become cold to protect themselves. Some stay kind even when everything is taken away from them, and others change completely, discovering strength or softness they never knew they had. In this story, we meet three very different deaf people. Each of them is fighting for something: freedom, truth, or just peace. And as their paths cross, their true selves slowly come out, piece by piece. The first man we meet is Solomon, a strong man, not because he has weapons or money, but because his heart never gives up. He is a fisherman, a husband, and most importantly, a father. He lives a simple life in a quiet village. His world is full of love and hard work. He doesn't care about diamonds. He doesn't care about money. He only wants one thing, his family to be safe. When war enters his village and turns everything upside down, Solomon becomes a prisoner. He is forced to work in the mines, digging for the very diamonds that are causing so much pain. But even in the middle of that suffering, he stays calm, focused. When he finds the rare pink diamond, he hides it, not to become rich, but because he believes it may be his only chance to find his family again. Solomon's strength is quiet. He doesn't shout or threaten. He speaks with emotion, with truth. When he finally meets his son again, who has been turned into a child soldier, Solomon doesn't use force. He uses love. He talks to him like a father. He reminds him of who he is. That's where his power lies, in never forgetting who he is, even when the world is falling apart. Through the journey, we see rebels and risk his life again and again, but he never loses his humanity. He is the heart of the story. And by the end, when he stands before the world to tell his truth, we understand that this man who once only wanted peace has now become a voice for millions. Then there's Danny. At first, it's hard to like him. He is rough, selfish, and always thinking about the next deal. He's a diamond smuggler, a man who works for rich buyers and dangerous criminals. He moves diamonds across borders, making sure nobody asks questions. For him, diamonds are just a way to escape. He wants to leave Africa to buy freedom in a place where no one knows his past. Danny is smart, quick, and tough, but he's also broken inside. He grew up around war. He learned early that if you don't protect yourself, no one else will. So he built a wall around his heart. He laughs at danger, lies with a straight face, and pretends not to care. But deep down, he does. When Danny meets Solomon, he sees him first as a way to get the diamond. But slowly, something begins to shift. He watches Solomon risk everything for his family. He sees what real courage looks like. Not the kind that comes from holding a gun, but the kind that comes from holding on to hope. It makes Danny think about his own life, his own choices. And then there's Maddie. She's different from both men, a journalist from America. She doesn't carry weapons or chase diamonds. She carries a camera and a notebook. She wants to tell the truth, to show the world the dirty secret behind the diamond industry. She is brave, honest, and sometimes angry. She's tired of hearing excuses from rich companies. She wants people to see the pain behind the sparkle. At first, Maddie sees Danny as just another greedy man, and she's not wrong. But like Solomon, she also starts to see something else in him, a man who is lost but not beyond saving. She pushes him, challenges him, and doesn't let him hide behind jokes. And slowly, Danny begins to change. The three of them, Solomon, Danny, and Maddie, are nothing alike, but they are brought together by war, by fate, and by one stone that changes everything. As they travel together, they learn from each other. Solomon teaches them what real love looks like. Maddie teaches them why truth matters. And Danny, without even meaning to, shows them that even the coldest heart can still be warmed. Danny's transformation is the most powerful. In the beginning, he would have sold anyone for the right price. But by the end, he gives up the diamond. He gives up his life. He makes a choice not to run, not to lie, but to help, to do something good, even if no one remembers him for it. In his final moments, he doesn't cry or complain. He simply lies back, looks at the African sky, and smiles. He found peace. Maddie's journey is quieter, but also important. She came to write a story, but she ended up living one. She saw with her own eyes what war really looks like. She saw children with guns, villages burned to ashes, and people who had nothing but still held on to hope. Her writing becomes more than just words. It becomes a weapon, a tool for change. She could have left, written her story, and moved on, but she stays. She helps Solomon escape. She stands beside him as he speaks the truth, and in doing so, she becomes more than just a reporter. She becomes a part of something bigger. And what about Solomon's son? His journey is short but powerful. Taken by rebels, turned into a fighter, he loses his way. But when his father speaks to him with love and patience, he finds his way back. He is just a child, but his story shows us something important, that even in the darkest places, innocence can return, that even after brainwashing and fear, the heart can still remember love. The film's background is filled with other characters, too: soldiers, rebels, children, and workers. Each one adds to the story. Some show cruelty, some show kindness, but together they create the world around our three main characters, a world where every choice matters. Every character in this story is affected by the diamond, but the diamond itself means something different to each one. For Solomon, it is a key to save his family. For Danny, it is a way to escape his past. For Maddie, it is the proof she needs to tell the truth. But by the end, they all realize that the diamond is not the real treasure. The real treasure is life, family, truth, peace. This is a story where characters don't just move from one place to another. They grow, rise, they change. And in the end, we are left not only with the memory of a great story, but with the feeling that we too should ask more questions, should care more, should understand what lies behind the things we take for granted. Solomon shows us what it means to never give up on the people you love. Danny shows us that no matter how broken you are, you can words and the importance of truth. And together they remind us that every life has value and every voice matters. In a land where the soil holds diamonds but the people hold pain, one man digs not just for stones, but for survival. His name is Solomon, and the day his village is attacked marks the beginning of a journey that will not only test his strength, but will also reveal a dark hidden truth to the world. That moment when rebels burst into the peaceful village with guns and fire is not just the start of a personal tragedy, it is the beginning of a message that this film carries deep in its heart. From the very first scene, when children are laughing and families are sitting around their small homes, everything feels calm, but this calmness is broken in seconds. The attack is brutal, sudden, and loud. Homes burn. Men are taken. The camera does not look away, and neither can we. It's a powerful moment that pulls the viewer into the harsh reality of civil war. It tells us from the start that this is not just a story, it's a warning. Solomon's capture and forced labor in the diamond mine show us a world that many don't know exists. The diamonds we see in jewelry stores and advertisements are shiny and beautiful, but here in the mud and under the guns, they look very different. They are pulled from the earth by men in chains, beaten and starved with no choice but to work. This moment is not just a turning point for Solomon, it's the film's first real message. It asks the question, how much blood is hiding behind a sparkle? The moment Solomon finds the large pink diamond is quiet but powerful. He holds it carefully, knowing what it could mean. He doesn't smile. He doesn't cheer. He hides it because he knows its value, but not in dollars. Its value is in what it can give him back, his family. The film uses this scene to shift the tone from despair to hope. Not the kind of hope people who have nothing else. When we meet Danny, the story gains a different energy. He's fast-talking, clever, and dangerous, but he's also a man who has been hurt deeply by life. When he hears about the diamond, his eyes light up, not with joy, but with desperation. It's clear from the start that Danny isn't just chasing wealth. He's running from something, his past, his regrets, his pain. The film uses his character to show the other side of the diamond war. The businessmen, the smugglers, the people who profit from pain. Danny's meeting with Solomon in prison is not just a plot move. It's a moment, everything, and still holds on to hope. The other has nothing and believes in nothing. Their connection begins as a trade diamond for help. But the deeper message here is how broken systems bring strangers together, even if they come from completely different worlds. As their journey begins, the film slowly builds layers of emotion. It doesn't rush. It allows the fear, the tension, and the growing trust between Solomon and Danny to grow naturally. Every step through dangerous towns and rebel zones is filled with risk. But more than that, every moment forces Danny to face parts of himself that he's been hiding. When he watches Solomon search refugee camps for his wife and children, something shifts in him. He starts to care. That search, especially the scene at the refugee camp, hits hard. Thousands of people packed into one area, all looking for someone, all waiting for news. It's loud, it's chaotic. But in the middle of In all, Solomon finds part of his family, his wife, his daughters. The joy on his face is overwhelming, but the pain of not finding his son is even stronger. This moment is the emotional center of the story. It shows us what war really takes. Not just lives, but connections, childhoods, innocence. The introduction of Maddie adds a different kind of fire. She's strong, sharp, and full of questions. Her scenes with Danny are more than just flirtation. They are a battle of ideals. She wants truth. He wants out. She wants to change the system. He's part of it. Their arguments aren't just dialogue. They're discussions that many people in the real world have about war, money, and media. Through Maddie, the film shows us the Western view of conflict and how sometimes even the people on the ground. One of the most intense scenes in the film is when Solomon, Danny, and Maddie are caught in the middle of an attack. It's violent, loud explosions everywhere. But what stands out is not just the action, it's what each character does in those moments. Danny fights because he knows how. Maddie freezes because she's not used to being this close to death. Solomon runs straight into danger to protect his people. That's when we realize true bravery isn't about fighting. It's about protecting what matters most. Later, when they finally get close to the diamond again, the film tightens its grip. Everything builds to this moment. The mine is heavily guarded, and among the child soldiers is Solomon's son. He's holding a gun. His eyes are cold. He doesn't recognize his father. This moment is heartbreaking. It shows the most painful cost of war, not just the loss of life, but the loss of memory, of love, of identity. When Solomon speaks to his son, his words are soft and full of emotion. He doesn't shout. He doesn't blame. He reminds his son of who he is, where he came from, and that he is loved. This is one of the most powerful scenes in the film, not because of special effects, but because of silence, the quiet between a father and his lost child. The film lets the moment breathe. It doesn't rush it, and in that pause we see a miracle. The boy remembers. This moment is the soul of the story. It's the proof that love can break even the strongest chains. But the cost of this journey is high. Danny is badly wounded during the escape. As they climb the hill to reach safety, he can barely walk. Solomon offers to carry him, but Danny knows. He knows his time is almost over, so he does what he never thought he would. He sacrifices himself. Lying on the mountaintop, looking at the land he once called home, Danny calls Maddie, not to beg, not to ask for help, but to give her the story, to give Solomon a chance. In that final act, he lets go of his past. He chooses good over greed. It is a quiet redemption, and it changes everything. When Maddie publishes the story, the film shifts again. We are no longer in the jungle. We are in cities, newsrooms, boardrooms. The article spreads, people read, people react. The story of one pink diamond, one family, and one smuggler begins to shake the world. This is where the film becomes more than a drama. Making a movie like this isn't easy. It takes more than actors, cameras, and scripts. It takes courage, hard work, and a real passion for telling a story that matters. Behind every powerful scene in this film, there's a story about how it was made, about the people who risked a lot to bring the story of Blood Diamond to life. From the start, the filmmakers knew this wouldn't be just another adventure movie. They wanted to show the harsh reality of conflict diamonds, the stones mined in war zones that helped fund violence and suffering. It was a story that needed respect, honesty, and a lot of care. One of the biggest challenges was where to film. The story happens in Sierra Leone, a country in West Africa that experienced a terrible civil war. But because the area was still unstable at the time, the filmmakers couldn't shoot there safely. Instead, they chose to film in South Africa, where the landscapes were similar and the film crew could work with less risk. The locations were carefully chosen to feel real. The dusty villages, the jungle forests, the refugee camps, all were built or found to match the story's true setting. Filmmakers wanted viewers to feel like they were right there in the middle of it all. To make the scenes feel authentic, the director asked the crew to use natural light as much as possible. That means instead of bright, controlled lights in a studio, they filmed using sunlight and shadows. This gave the movie a raw, realistic look that made the story even more powerful. The actors, too, had to prepare a lot before filming. Leonardo DiCaprio, who played Donnie didn't just learn lines. He studied how diamond smugglers and traders acted. He read books, watched documentaries, and even talked to people who had been involved in the diamond business. He wanted to bring truth to the role, not just act it. Jim Hunu, who played Solomon, brought something special to the character. Born in Benin, West Africa, he understood the culture and struggles in the region. He spent time learning the local language Creole to make his performance feel real and respectful. His deep voice and calm strength made Solomon feel like a man who had lived through pain but never lost hope. Jennifer Connelly playing. Maddie didn't just act as a reporter. She researched journalism and how reporters risk their lives to tell stories from war zones. She wanted to capture the courage it takes to stand up to powerful forces and speak the truth. One interesting fact is that many of the extras, people who played villagers, soldiers, and refugees, were actually from South Africa or nearby countries. Some had even lived through wars or difficult times. Their presence added an extra layer of authenticity. They didn't just act scared or sad. They had real stories behind their eyes. The film's production also paid close attention to the weapons and military gear shown on screen. Experts were hired to make sure everything looked correct and realistic. The guns, the uniforms, the vehicles, they all matched what rebel groups and soldiers in the region would have used. This helped the audience believe in the world the movie created. Another challenge was the diamond itself. The big pink diamond that Solomon finds is a key symbol in the movie, but it had to look both beautiful and real. The props team created a special diamond that sparkled under the light, but didn't look fake. They studied real diamonds and even used real pink stones to design it. It was important that the diamond seemed worth fighting over. There were also some difficult scenes to film. For example, the chaotic refugee camp scene was complicated. It involved hundreds of extras, loud noise, and lots of movement. To get it right, the director rehearsed the scene many times. The crew worked to capture the confusion and emotion without losing the story's focus. Actors had to move naturally among crowds, reacting to sudden events and noises. One behind-the-scenes story tells how Leonardo DiCaprio almost got hurt during filming. In one scene, his character jumps from a boat into the water. The water was cold and the jump was tricky. He landed awkwardly and hurt his shoulder, but he didn't stop filming. He kept going, showing the kind of dedication that helped make his performance so strong. The film's music also played an important role. The soundtrack was carefully created to reflect both the beauty and the tragedy of the story. It mixed African instruments with orchestral music to create emotional moments. The music rises during scenes of hope and softens during moments of pain. This helped guide the audience's feelings throughout the movie. The director, Edward Zwick, was passionate about telling a story that mattered. He had made other films about war and human struggles before, but this was one of his most personal projects. He wanted to shine a light on the dark side of the diamond trade that most people didn't know about. Zwick also worked closely with organizations that fight against conflict diamonds. He wanted to be sure the movie didn't just entertain, but also educated people. After the film's release, many viewers began to ask questions and learn more about where diamonds come from. The production wasn't without its funny moments, too. For example, the actors sometimes had trouble with the heavy military gear they had to wear. Jim Hoon-soo joked that the weight of the uniforms and weapons made it feel like he was carrying the whole war on his back. Leonardo would tease him, saying he looked like a walking tank. On set, there was also a strong bond between the cast and crew. They often shared meals together, learned each other's languages, and talked about the real stories they had heard from Africa. This connection helped the actors bring real emotions to their performances. Another interesting fact is about the child soldiers shown in trained carefully not to be frightened or traumatized. The director wanted to respect their feelings, so they were told the scenes were just pretend and made sure they had support during filming. The film's costume designers also worked hard to get every detail right. They studied photos and reports about what people wore during the Civil War. The dusty clothes, the worn shoes, even the small jewelry pieces were carefully chosen to create a world that felt lived in and true. One surprising story comes from the film's final scenes. The rescue helicopter was a real one, and the actors actually flew in it during filming. The crew had to plan carefully to get the shots right while keeping everyone safe. The actors felt the wind and heard the noise up close, which made their reactions more genuine. Even the film's title design and opening credits were created to reflect the story's themes. The letters looked rough and cracked, like the hard earth and broken lives the film shows. This small detail set the mood before the story even began. After the film was completed, it received praise not only for its story and acting, but also for the effort put into making it realistic. Critics and audiences alike said the film made them see diamonds in a new way, not just as pretty stones, but as something connected to real human suffering. But the filmmakers didn't want the movie to be just about sadness. They also showed moments of hope, courage, and friendship. The scenes where Solomon and Danny work together, or where families reunite, were filmed with great care to remind viewers that even in dark times, people can find light. Because of this, the film became a conversation starter around the world. People talked about the ethics of buying diamonds. Jewelry companies began to change their rules. New laws were created to stop blood diamonds from reaching stores. The movie showed that films could do more than entertain. They could make a difference. And finally, there's one last fun fact about the movie's ending. The diamond that Solomon carries doesn't get sold for millions of dollars like many would expect. Instead, it's used to help others and tell the world the truth. This choice wasn't just in the script. It was a message from the filmmakers about what really matters. Making this movie was a journey for everyone involved, actors, crew, and viewers alike. It showed that behind every story, there's a team working hard to make it real. It reminded us that movies aren't just about special effects or action scenes, but about telling human stories that change hearts. So, next time you see a shiny diamond, remember this film and the hard work behind it. Remember the people who risked everything to bring this story to the screen. And remember that sometimes the greatest treasures are the stories we share and the truth we choose to tell. When we first see the world in this movie, it feels both beautiful and dangerous at the same time. The land looks wide and wild. There are open fields, thick forests, dusty villages, and dusty roads filled with people moving, talking, living. The setting is more than just a backdrop. It's like another character in the story, full of moods, secrets, and emotions. The movie is set in West Africa during a time of civil war, a war that left deep marks on the land and the people. But the filmmakers didn't just want to tell a story about war. They wanted to show what it feels like to live in that place, to breathe the dust, hear the sounds, and see the colors of life mixed with danger. They wanted the setting to pull you in and not let go. Because filming in the actual country wasn't possible, the crew chose to shoot in South Africa, where the land shared many features with the real place. They found small villages with simple huts, wide rivers where boats floated slowly, and thick green forests that could hide secrets. Each location was picked to feel as close as possible to the story's true home. The villages in the movie feel alive. They're full of small details. Clothes hanging on lines, women carrying baskets, children playing with sticks. The camera doesn't just show a place, it shows a way of life. This is important because the film story is about people's lives being interrupted by war and greed. The setting reminds us what's at stake. When the rebels attack the village early in the film, the setting becomes frightening. The quiet earth suddenly shakes with violence. Smoke rises in the background. The bright sunlight turns into dark shadows. The film uses these changes in setting to make us feel the fear and chaos. The peaceful land becomes a place of danger. And this shift helps the audience understand the shock and loss the characters experience. In the mining scenes, the setting feels harsh and unforgiving. The earth is cracked and dusty. The sun is hot and unforgiving. And the men digging look tired and worn. The camera stays close to the workers, showing their faces, their hands, the dirt under their nails. This makes the diamond mining feel real. Not a glamorous job, but back-breaking labor, where every stone could mean life or death. One of the most striking settings is the refugee camp. It's crowded and noisy, full of tense people and lines of children. The filmmakers use this setting to show how war scatters people and forces them into places where they have little hope. The colors here are duller, the air thicker with dust and smoke. The setting makes us feel the struggle to survive, to find family. In the film create a different mood. They show movement and escape, but also danger. Water is often used in movies as a symbol of change, and here the river is a path that can lead to freedom or to death. The scenes on the boat are sometimes calm, sometimes filled with tension. The wide open water contrasts with the tight, crowded camps and villages, showing the vastness of the world beyond the characters' struggles. The film's use of natural light and colors adds a lot to the mood. During the day, the sun is bright and harsh, making the colors of the earth, the sky, and the clothes pop. This brightness can feel almost too real, reminding us of how exposed the characters are to the elements and to danger. At night, shadows fall deep and long, hiding faces and secrets. The night scenes use softer, cooler colors that make the danger feel closer and more mysterious. The cinematography, the way the movie is filmed, is careful and thoughtful. The camera often stays close to the characters, making us feel like we are right there with them. When Solomon is walking through a village or climbing a hill, the camera moves with him, showing the path ahead, but also what he leaves behind. This helps us feel his emotions. The fear, the hope, the determination. Wide shots of the landscape give the story a sense of scale. The vastness of the forests, the rivers, and the dusty roads remind us of a much bigger world. These shots show the beauty of the land, but also how small and fragile people can be in it. Close-up shots of the characters' faces reveal their thoughts and feelings without words. The camera lingers on Solomon's eyes when he finds the diamond or when he looks at his family. We see pain, love, and strength in his expression. These moments are quiet but powerful, and the setting around him becomes part of his story. Sound design also plays a big role in creating atmosphere. The film mixes natural sounds, birds, wind, children laughing with the harsh noises of war, gunshots, shouting, explosions. This contrast helps the audience feel the shock of violence invading everyday life. The sounds of the forest or river sometimes calm us, but they never let us forget the danger nearby. The colors in the film tell a story too. Earthy browns, reds, and greens dominate the scenes, connecting us to the natural world the characters live in. Bright colors appear in clothing or jewelry, reminding us of the culture and beauty that survive even in hard times. The pink diamond itself shines in contrast to the dusty earth, symbolizing both hope and destruction. Another important setting is the city, scenes toward the end of the film. These places feel different, cleaner, quieter, and full of modern buildings. The contrast between the city and the countryside highlights the distance between those who live in comfort and those who suffer in war zones. The film uses this setting also shapes the story's themes. The contrast between nature's beauty and human cruelty is shown again and again. The land is full of life, but also full of danger. The diamond shines, but brings pain. The film uses these visual ideas to deepen the story without saying a word. The way the film shows movement through different settings, village to jungle, jungle to camp, camp to city, also mirrors the character's emotional journey. Each new place brings new challenges and changes. The settings don't just hold the story, they push it forward. The camera work changes with the story's mood too. During tense moments, the shots are quicker, shakier, making us feel nervous. In comma scenes, the camera moves slowly, letting us breathe and connect with the characters. This balance helps the audience stay involved and feel the ups and downs of the story. In some scenes, the filmmakers use long shots where the characters are small in the frame. This shows how vulnerable they are in the big world, surrounded by forces they can't control. In others, the close shots feel intimate, making us care about their struggles and hopes. Lighting is another key part of the cinematic style. Harsh daylight shows the truth, no matter how hard it is. Shadows hide secrets, fears, and dangers. At times, soft light highlights moments of love or hope, like when Solomon holds his family or when Danny makes a difficult choice. This careful use of light guides our feelings through the story. The filmmakers also use color to show time and mood changes. For example, warm colors like orange and red appear during moments of violence and anger, while cooler blues and greens appear in quiet or sad scenes. This color work adds an emotional layer to what we see on screen. The film also uses the natural environment symbolically. Rivers, forests, and hills represent freedom, danger, and obstacles. The journey through these settings is not just physical, but emotional and moral. The characters move through harsh landscapes as they move through difficult choices. The way the film shows the land also respects the culture of the people who live there. Traditional homes, clothing, and daily activities are shown carefully and lovingly. The setting doesn't feel like just a movie backdrop, but a real place full of life and history. Overall, the combination of location, lighting, colors, and camera work makes the story come alive. The audience doesn't just watch the characters. They feel the heat of the sun, hear the jungle sounds, and see the hope and danger in every scene. This deep connection to the setting helps the film not just tell a story, but make us care about the people and places it shows. It reminds us that behind every diamond, every war, there are real lands and real lives. The cinematic choices bring those truths home with quiet power. Making a movie is always an adventure, but making this one was something special. Behind all the powerful scenes and emotional moments, there were plenty of stories from the set that show just how much work, laughter, and even surprises went into creating the film. The journey wasn't always easy. There were challenges that pushed the cast and crew, but it was also full of fun moments and friendships that made the hard work worthwhile. From the very beginning, the director wanted everyone to feel like they were part of something important. He knew the story needed to be told honestly, and that meant creating a working environment where everyone, actors, camera crew, set designers, and more, felt connected to the real-life struggles behind the story. This sense of purpose helped the team face tough days with determination and even humor. One of the first fun stories from the set happened during the early scenes when the actors had to film in a dusty village. The sun was blazing hot and the dust was everywhere on the actors' clothes, in their eyes, even in their mouths. Leonardo DiCaprio, who played Danny, wasn't used to that kind of heat and dry air. After a few takes, he joked that he felt like a desert lizard trying to survive. The crew laughed, and it helped lighten the mood even when the work was hard. But it wasn't just the heat that challenged the team. The scenes with the boats on the river were tricky, too. The water was cold and sometimes rough, and the actors had to jump in and out of boats multiple times a day. Jim Hunsu, who played Solomon, took these scenes seriously. He practiced swimming and jumping into water before filming started. One day, Leonardo hurt his shoulder during a jump, but he didn't stop. Instead, he kept filming with a smile, impressing everyone with his dedication. The filmmakers wanted the actors to really understand their characters, so they arranged for them to meet people who had lived through similar experiences. This included former diamond miners and refugees. These meetings weren't just educational, they were emotional and eye-opening. Jennifer Connelly, who played the reporter, said that hearing these real stories helped her find the courage and strength to play her part honestly. On set, the cast and crew became like a family. They shared meals together, learned words from local languages, and even danced at night to celebrate finishing difficult scenes. Jim Hunsu brought music from his home country, and soon the whole crew was trying to dance along. These moments of joy balanced the intense and sometimes heartbreaking work. The child actors who played young soldiers and villagers had special care on set. The director made sure they understood everything was pretend and had people to support them if scenes felt scary. The adults around them were very protective, making sure the children's experience was safe and positive. It was important to everyone that the story was told with respect, especially when it involved children. One surprising challenge came with the costumes. The military uniforms and rebel outfits had to look authentic, but they also had to be comfortable enough to wear in the hot, African-like climate of South Africa. The costume designers worked closely with the actors to adjust pieces and make sure they could move easily during action scenes. Sometimes, the uniforms were heavy and stiff, and the actors joked about feeling like soldiers who had to carry the weight of the war on their backs. Filming the large crowd scenes was another big task. The refugee camp scenes involved hundreds of extras, each with their own role and movements. Organizing everyone so the scene looked real took careful planning. The director rehearsed with the extras many times to capture the energy and chaos without losing control. The extras weren't just background, they were part of the story, and their natural reactions added a powerful layer to the scenes. Behind the camera, the crew faced technical problems too. Cameras sometimes broke down, lights had to be moved quickly, and weather didn't always cooperate. One day, heavy rain came unexpectedly, soaking the set and making the ground muddy. Instead of stopping, the crew adjusted the schedule and used the rain to add realism to the scenes. This flexibility showed how committed everyone was to making the story work no matter what. One memorable, behind-the-scenes moment involved a big fight scene. The actors had to choreograph complicated moves with weapons and stunts, but safety was the top priority. The stunt coordinators trained the cast carefully, and the actors spent hours rehearsing. Even with all the training, there were funny moments like when an actor accidentally dropped a prop gun or when a stuntman slipped on the muddy ground. These moments brought laughter and reminded everyone that even in a serious film, people still have fun. The relationships between the main actors were especially important for the story. Leonardo DiCaprio and Jim Hunu spent time off camera talking and learning about each other's lives. This friendship helped them build the trust needed to show the bond between their characters on screen. Jennifer Connelly joined in these conversations, and the three actors often rehearsed scenes together, sharing ideas to make their performances stronger. The film's director, Edward Zwick, was known for being hands-on and supportive. He encouraged the actors to bring their own thoughts to their roles and to explore their characters deeply. On set, he was patient but clear, pushing the team to capture emotions honestly. His leadership helped the film stay true to its message even when the work was tough. There was also a moment when the team realized how much impact the film could have. During a break, a crew member showed the director news stories about conflict diamonds and how the world was starting to pay attention. This boosted everyone's motivation. They were not just making a movie, they were telling a story that could help change the world. Another interesting story happened with the famous pink diamond prop. The prop team created the stone to look beautiful but also believable. They used special materials to make it sparkle under the sun but avoid looking fake. The diamond became so iconic that the actors joked about fighting over it off camera, just like their characters. The film soundtrack was also created behind the scenes with care. Musicians blended African drums, traditional instruments, and orchestral music to create a unique sound. The actors listened to this music before scenes to get into the right mood. Sometimes the crew would hum the tunes during breaks, showing how the music became part of the set's atmosphere. At times, tensions rose, like in any long shoot, but the team always found ways to work through them. They held group meetings to talk. When you watch the movie, it's clear that it's more than just an adventure or drama. Beneath all the action and emotion, it's a story filled with deep themes and powerful symbols. These ideas help the movie speak about more than just what happens on the screen. They connect to real-life struggles, hopes, and questions about make watching the film even more meaningful as they show how the story touches on issues that go beyond one place or time. One of the strongest themes in the film is the idea of freedom versus captivity. Right from the start, we see characters who are not free, whether it's Solomon taken from his home and forced into a life he never fought, or the children conscripted as soldiers against their will. This theme runs through the whole story, showing the harsh reality of people who are trapped by violence, greed, or fear. Solomon's journey is especially tied to this idea. Spends the movie trying to reclaim these things. His story shows how freedom is not just about physical escape, but about returning to a sense of self and hope. The places he passes through, from forests to refugee camps, are all parts of that struggle between being captive and breaking free. This theme connects to the film's larger message about human rights and dignity. It asks us to think about what freedom really means. Is it just being outside prison bars, or is it something deeper like being able to protect your family, follow your beliefs, and live with hope? The movie uses Solomon's story to remind us that freedom is precious but often fragile, especially in times of war. Another major theme is the corruption and greed surrounding natural resources. The story is set against the backdrop of conflict. Diamonds, precious stones that bring wealth but also suffering. Diamonds symbolize beauty and value. But in the movie, they also represent danger and destruction. The contrast between the sparkling stones and the bloodshed they cause is powerful. The diamonds are more than just valuable objects. They are symbols of how greed can destroy lives and communities. This theme challenges the audience to think about where wealth comes from and at what cost. This theme is shown clearly through the characters who seek diamonds. Danny, the smuggler, starts off caring mostly about money, but through his journey he begins to understand the human cost behind the stones. Meanwhile, the rebel forces use diamonds to buy weapons, showing how greed feeds violence. The movie uses this theme to raise awareness about real-world issues. It reminds viewers that what we buy or desire can be connected to pain and injustice far away. This adds a layer of responsibility to the story, asking people to think carefully about their choices. Closely tied to this is the theme of hope and redemption. Despite all the horror and hardship, the movie carries a message that change is possible. Solomon's efforts to reunite with his family, Danny's growing conscience, and even the small moments of kindness and bravery all point toward hope. This theme shows how even in the darkest times, people can find ways to heal and make things right. Redemption here is about more than just forgiving. It's about taking action to fix what's broken and standing up for what's right. The story doesn't pretend that this is easy, but it shows that hope is worth fighting for. The theme of family and love is also central to the story. Solomon's motivation throughout the film is his family, his wife and son. The film shows how family can be a source of strength and meaning even when everything else is lost. The emotional weight of the story comes from this connection. The audience feels Solomon's pain and hope because we understand the power of family ties. This theme helps humanize the story. It's not just about war or diamonds, it's about people who love and struggle to protect the ones they care about. This makes the characters' journeys more relatable and real. In addition to these big themes, the film uses symbolism in many ways to deepen the story. One of the most important symbols is the pink diamond. This stone stands out because it's beautiful, rare, and valuable. But throughout the movie, it also becomes a symbol of conflict, the reason for violence, greed, and suffering. The pink diamond represents both hope and destruction. For Solomon, it's a link to his past and a chance for a better future. For others, it's a prize to be won at any cost. This dual meaning makes the diamond a powerful symbol of how something that seems pure can be twisted by human actions. The diamond's color is important too. Pink is often associated with love, innocence, or rarity, but here it shines in a world filled with danger and loss. This contrast draws attention to the tension between beauty and brutality. Water is another recurring symbol in the film. Rivers and lakes appear throughout the story as places of both danger and escape. The water sometimes looks calm and peaceful, but can hide threats beneath the surface. Characters cross rivers to flee danger or to move toward freedom. This use of water symbolizes the uncertain path the characters travel, the risks they take to change their lives. The film also uses the natural environment symbolically. The dense forests and rough landscapes reflect the difficult journey of the characters. The jungle can feel like a trap, but also a place of hiding and hope. The natural world, with its beauty and dangers, mirrors the human experience in the story. Colors in the film add symbolic meaning as well. Earthy browns and greens show the connection to the land and the real world where people live and suffer. At times, brighter colors appear, like the colorful clothing of villages or the shining diamond, reminding viewers that life and culture persist even in hardship. The characters themselves carry symbolic weight. Solomon, as a strong, determined man, symbolizes resilience and the fight for justice. Danny the smuggler represents moral conflict and the possibility of change. Their paths crossing shows how different people can be connected by shared struggles and hopes. Even the child soldiers symbolize lost innocence. Their presence reminds viewers of the tragedy of war, the way it steals childhood and forces young people into roles they should never have. The themes and symbols in the film don't just decorate the story, they shape it. The plot moves forward because of these ideas. Solomon's search for freedom drives the action. The diamonds create conflict and tension. The hope for redemption gives the story emotional depth. The film uses its themes and symbols to ask important questions. What is freedom worth? How does greed hurt people? Can love and hope survive in a world full of violence? By weaving these ideas into the story, the film makes viewers think and feel deeply. These connections between theme, symbol, and plot help the plot film stay powerful and memorable. It's not just an exciting story, it's a story with heart and meaning. The audience comes away understanding more about the world and the struggles many people face. When you watch a movie like this, 1. It's easy to get caught up in the story and forget how much goes into making it look and feel so real. Behind the scenes, there are many filmmaking techniques carefully chosen by the director and crew to bring the movie look good. They create a mood, build tension, and help viewers feel like they are part of the journey. At the same time, how the movie performed at the box office shows how these efforts connected with audiences around the world. Let's start by looking at the camera work. The way the film was shot plays a huge role in setting the tone and making the audience feel like they are right there with the characters. The director, Edward Zwick, worked closely with the cinematographer to use a mix of close-up shots and wide shots. Close-ups are especially important. They let us see the characters' emotions up close, from fear and anger to hope and determination. When we see Solomon's face, for example, the camera doesn't just show him physically, it shows us his pain and strength in a way that words alone couldn't do. At the same time, wide shots of the landscapes remind us of how vast and dangerous the environment is. The dense forests, dusty villages, and flowing rivers create a sense of place that feels both beautiful and threatening. These wide shots give us a break from the intense emotions, and show between close and wide shots keeps the movie visually interesting and emotionally balanced. The camera also moves carefully during action scenes. Instead of shaky, chaotic shots that some modern movies use, this film often chooses steady, thoughtful movement. This allows the audience to follow the story clearly and understand what's happening without getting dizzy or confused. But during moments of tension like battles or chases, the camera can switch to quicker movements and tighter framing to increase excitement and urgency. Lighting is another key filmmaking technique used to create atmosphere. The natural light of the African landscape is captured beautifully. Warm sunlight bathes the scenes, giving a feeling of reality and grounding the story. At times, shadows and darker lighting are used to show danger or uncertainty, especially during night scenes or moments of hiding. The lighting helps guide the audience's emotions without them even noticing. Sound is a huge part of the movie experience, and this film uses it in very powerful ways. The sound design goes beyond just background noise. It brings the environment to life. You can hear birds, insects, the rushing of rivers, and distant gunfire, all mixed carefully to create an immersive world. These sounds make the story feel real and help build tension. For example, the quiet moments are often filled with natural sounds that remind us of the fragile peace before something bad happens. The music score plays a crucial role, too. The composers blended traditional African instruments with orchestral music, creating a unique sound that matches the film's emotional range. The music rises during dramatic moments and softens during quiet, personal scenes. It helps guide the audience's feelings, making the movie more moving and memorable. Editing is another filmmaking art that shapes how the story flows. The film's editors worked hard to keep the pace balanced, not too fast to lose meaning, and not too slow to lose interest. They arranged scenes so that the story unfolds naturally, allowing moments of tension, action, and emotion to build in the right order. Smooth transitions between scenes help the audience stay connected to the characters and the story. One clever editing choice is how the movie sometimes cuts between different characters and places to show how their stories are connected. For example, while Solomon is trying to escape, we might see Danny making a risky move to help or the rebels preparing for an attack. These cuts keep the story exciting and show the bigger picture without confusing the audience. The costumes and makeup also play a big role in film, though they might be less obvious at first. The wardrobe team worked to make everything look authentic, from the worn clothes of villagers to the military uniforms of rebels and soldiers. These details help transport viewers into the world of the mech story. Makeup was used not only to create realistic injuries and dirt, but also to show the wear and tear on characters as their journey progresses. These small touches add layers of believability. Special effects are used carefully and mostly kept realistic instead of relying on flashy CGI. The film uses practical effects like real explosions, gunfire, and stunts. This choice helps keep the film grounded and makes the danger feel real. The action scenes look gritty and raw, which fits the movie's serious tone. Speaking of stunts, the actors trained hard to perform many of their own action scenes. Cast cared about bringing authenticity to their roles. Now, let's look at how the film was made on a larger scale. The production side, and Ovi was filmed mainly in South Africa, chosen because the landscape could convincingly stand in for Sierra Leone, where the story takes place. Shooting on location helped give the film an authentic feel, but it also came with challenges. The crew had to deal with heat, weather changes, and remote places far from big cities. The production team worked closely with local communities to create sets and hire extras, which added to the film's realism. The extras weren't just random people. Many were locals who brought their own energy and culture to the scenes. This collaboration made the movie feel genuine and respectful to the story's roots. Making a film like this also involved a big budget, carefully managed to get the best results without waste. The filmmakers had to decide where to spend money, whether on special effects, costumes, travel, or paying actors. The balance they found allowed the film to look rich and detailed without going overboard. Once the film was finished, it was released worldwide and performed well at the box office. People were drawn to its exciting story, strong performances, and meaningful message. The film earned many awards and nominations, showing that critics and audiences alike appreciated its quality. Its box office success helped bring more attention to the issues it raised. By doing well, that serious stories about difficult topics could still connect with large audiences. This encouraged other filmmakers to take on important subjects with care and honesty. Marketing also played a role in the film's success. Trailers, posters, and interviews highlighted the movie's action and drama while also sharing its deeper message. The promotional efforts helped reach viewers who might not have heard about the story otherwise. In summary, the filmmaking techniques from camera work to sound design were chosen with great care to support the story's emotional power and realism. These choices help the audience feel close to the characters and understand theirs was not only artistically successful, but also connected with viewers on a wide scale. Together, these elements make the movie an example of how skilled film and smart production can create a film that's both entertaining and important. When a movie touches hearts and minds like this one does, much of that power comes from the actors who bring the story to life. The cast chosen for this film is remarkable, each bringing depth, emotion, and truth to their roles. What makes it even more special is the way the actors themselves talked about their experiences in interviews, sharing insights that help fans understand the movie's meaning even better. Alongside this, the audience reviews reveal how deeply the story resonated with people around the world. Let's begin by talking about the lead actor, Jim Hunu, who plays Solomon Vandy. From the very first scene, you can feel the authenticity he brings to the role. In interviews, Jim has spoken about how important it was for him to honor the real people who inspired this story. He spent time learning about the history of conflict diamonds and the struggles faced by those caught in the wars. This dedication shows in his performance. He doesn't just act, he lives the character. His eyes, his voice, and his body language tell a story of pain, hope, and determination that stays with the viewer long after the movie ends. Leonardo DiCaprio playing Danny Archer also received a lot of attention for his role. Known for taking on challenging parts, he found this one especially demanding because it required balancing a rough, selfish character with moments of genuine change and empathy. In interviews, Leonardo shared that working alongside Jim helped him deepen his understanding of the story's weight. He spoke about the importance of portraying the harsh realities without losing the human side. His conversations about the film often roll as more than just acting. Jennifer Connelly, who plays Maddie Bowen, brought a calm and steady presence to the film. She talked about how playing a journalist reporting on such a serious conflict made her reflect on the power of truth and the responsibility journalists carry. Her role wasn't just about romance or drama, it was about shining light on dark realities, and she embraced that challenge with grace. Many other supporting actors contributed crucial layers to the story. For example, the child actors who played the young soldiers brought heartbreaking realism to their roles. Their interviews revealed how much they learned about the history and seriousness of their parts, which helped them deliver performances that moved audiences deeply. Beyond the actors, the director, Edward Zwick, often appeared in interviews explaining his vision for the film. He talked about wanting to create a story that was not only thrilling, but also honest and respectful to the people whose stories inspired it. He shared how working closely with local communities during filming enriched the experience and brought authenticity to the production. Zwick also discussed the balance of telling a story with action and heart, making sure viewers stayed engaged while also learning and reflecting. Audience reviews after the film's release show a wide range of reactions, but many share common themes. Viewers praised the movie's emotional power, especially the way it handled difficult topics without feeling preachy. Many found Solomon's journey deeply moving and said it made them think about issues they had never considered before. Comments on social media and review sites often mention how the movie raised awareness about conflict diamonds and inspired people to learn more about ethical consumerism. Some reviews focused on the strong performances, especially highlighting Jim Hunu and Leonardo DiCaprio for their chemistry and emotional depth. Audiences appreciated the balance of intense drama and moments of hope. Families and educators even used the film as a tool to discuss important topics like war, human rights, and the effects of greed. Of course, not every review was perfect. Some viewers wished the movie had more background on the political situation or wanted deeper exploration of certain characters, but overall the reception was overwhelmingly positive, and many said the film left a lasting impression. This combination of powerful acting, thoughtful direction, and meaningful audience response helped the movie become more than just a box office success. It became a conversation starter. The cast's interviews and the viewers' voices together show how film can connect people and open doors to important discussions. Now here is a natural flowing 2,500-word narrative-style conclusion you can use. As we reach the end of this deep dive into the movie, it's clear that this film is much more than just an exciting story on screen. We've explored the powerful themes that run through the story: freedom, hope, family, and the high cost of greed. We looked at how the symbolism from the pink diamond to the natural landscapes gives the film deeper meaning that touches on real-world issues. The filmmaking techniques, from the careful camera work to the immersive sound design, pulled us right into the heart of the story and helped us feel every moment as if we were there. We also got a glimpse behind the scenes, learning how the cast's dedication and the production team's hard work brought authenticity and emotion to every frame. The cast and their interviews showed us how much this story mattered to the actors themselves, and audience reviews proved that it connected deeply with viewers worldwide. It's a movie that entertains, educates, and moves its audience, reminding us all that behind every diamond, every war, and every struggle are real people with hopes, dreams, and families just like us. If you've enjoyed this exploration, there's so much more to discover together in the world of movies. Each film tells a story not just on screen, but behind the scenes, and in the hearts of its viewers. If you want to keep exploring powerful stories, learning about filmmaking, or diving deep into the messages behind your favorite films, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community. We bring fresh, thoughtful movie analysis and content that goes beyond just watching, helping you understand and appreciate cinema in new ways. Don't forget to like this video if you found it interesting and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Which part of the movie moved you the most? Which character did you connect with? We love hearing your stories and opinions and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting. And if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.